Today, we're gonna do an episode of Will It Run? In today's episode, it's gonna be this beautiful 1971 Ford F350 that we did a first look video at earlier on in the week. And today, I wanna see if I can get it running. This is probably one of my favorite things to do just because you get a sense of accomplishment when you get something up and running that hasn't been running in years. So I have no idea the condition of this engine, no idea why they stopped driving it, but I'm assuming we're gonna find out some information on why today. So let's pop the hood. And let's do some things. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna see if the motor spins over by hand. So I've got my 15/16 and a bar, and we're gonna see if we can even get this motor moving. If we can't get the motor moving, then we have to explore further. If we can get the motor moving, we're gonna probably end up taking the distributor out and priming the system full of oil, making sure we have proper oil and everything's lubricated. Keep in mind, this thing's been sitting for probably 20 years, if not more, so everything's really dry in there. We don't want to start a motor dry, so we want to pump up those lifters, get oil moving through things, and then we'll try and start it. So first things first, let's pop the hood. Let's see if we can even get this thing spinning. Remember, we had this custom hood retention spring system bungee cord. I don't know what it is, but let's go ahead and see if we can get a tool on here and spin. Now these things usually you could spin them by hand, and as you can see, this thing is not wanting to move, but it could not want to move for a variety of different reasons. One of these pulleys could be gummed up. The alternator could be completely stuck. We don't know. The water pump could be seized. Any of these things could be seized, but most likely if it's seized like this, we've got a rusty rocker arm, we've got a busted rod, we don't know. So we're gonna explore, right? Let's get my 15/16 on there and give it a little tug. Oh, look at that. She's actually moving. Boys and girls, this is a good sign. So what I'm going to do is give it a full rotation, hopefully. Whoop. All right, now it's stuck again. Let's rock it back and forth and see. A lot of times what happens is water or moisture will get in the top of a cylinder and it'll create a little rust ring in that cylinder. And even though we're going to be redoing this entire motor, we'd never run it like this. It's fun to get it started anyways. But we'd have to work through that rust barrier to get that piston going up and down. So for the exercise here, it's okay to work through that rust barrier, knowing that here at Classic Crew Cabs, we don't just put fuel and stuff and sell it as running and driving. But what we want to make sure is there's no rocker arms for the lifters seized up. Because we can start bending push rods, we can start bending valves. We don't want to be doing that. Oh, well, now the fan's just spinning freely. That's good. And who knows how much of this stuff I'm going to cut out. Probably a lot. And at some point, what we're going to end up doing, like I said, is pulling that distributor. It wants to turn. She wants to go. So I think we're safe to get a battery on this thing and see if we can get a rotation with the starter motor. What do you guys think? Oh yeah, she's turning. Okay. So we're gonna get a battery and come back at you. All right, so what we noticed right off the bat is, aside from the battery missing, the starter solenoid was also missing and the starter was gone. So who knows, was this thing parked just because the starter went out and they were trying to source it out or trying to figure it out and stopped? Coil's also missing. So as my trusty cameraman Jake here is going to put a starter in, we already put the starter solenoid in, I'm gonna go ahead and hook the coil up. We're gonna go ahead and see if we have 12 volt to the coil and just kind of continue on down the path of figuring out what's wrong with this thing and how to get it running. All right, trusty cameraman Jake down there is doing the starter motor. How's it going, Jake?
Well, it's going.
It's going. You getting that third top bolt in okay?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. You have a good feeling about this? You think this thing's gonna fire right up?
I think it's gonna run.
All right. You gonna drive it home tonight?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Now these wheels right here are gonna be perfect for driving on the highway. Also, we got the speed flap back here. You know how like race cars, they've got that scoop behind or in front of the rear tires to bring cold air into the brakes. That's exactly what this thing is right here. It's a speed scoop. Yep. So Jake's gonna go ahead and drive this thing home tonight. So better make sure those bolts are tight. All right, so what we've done is we went ahead and got the starter solenoid in, the battery, and the starter. We're gonna connect it to juice, and what I'm gonna take is my nifty clickety click right here, and we're gonna turn this thing over. Two reasons. I wanna see if it turns over, makes a full rotation. The second reason is I wanna set this thing at top dead center so I can take my distributor out, prime my oil pump, and then put the distributor back in the same exact spot. So let's go ahead and hook this thing up. If you've never used one of these, they're great. If you have a manual transmission, just make sure they're out of gear before you clickety click. Okay, you ready? Uh-oh. Oh, and she goes. All right, she's turning over. It does sound like it has a compression issue in one or more cylinders or a really dead battery. But let's go ahead and we'll get it to top dead center. You do that just by watching the dampener for your top dead line. All right. We're at top dead center. Why don't you come over here, cameraman? I'll show the viewers at home what we mean by that. If you can get down inside there. This gentleman, or whoever it was, already marked his harmonic balancer with a white line, and it's lining up to that pointer, and we know we're at top dead center. We're either at top dead center or 180 off. Either way, we're gonna pop the distributor cap now. And we're going to take the distributor out. With any luck, it's not stuck in there. Come on, baby. We've set it at top dead center. I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of the positioning of the distributor. Assuming that this thing was timed right, we want to put this thing back in the same exact spot. Now, when we take out the distributor, we're not going to rotate the motor. All we're going to do is stick our priming tool down. We're going to prime the oil pump. So your bolt for your distributor is way under here. And most guys won't take the time or the effort to prime their motors when they've been sitting a while, but it's an extra 10 or 15 minutes of time that can save you. I've had situations back before I did this where I'd start a motor and the drive shaft to the oil pump was broken off, and I ended up just destroying, you know, the inside of a cylinder sleeve or something like that because there was no oil getting to it. And then you take your motor that you thought was a good core motor and you basically trashed it. So a good sign is that this thing is spinning freely. The distributor, which is really nice. So these things, these old FEs, they like to be lubricated. I'm probably not going to change the oil to start this thing for the first time, but... Oh, hey, our trusty guys from Napa are here. What's up?
Is this a YouTube thing?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
You can't be on YouTube?
Oh, it's fine, yeah.
Yeah, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I got something for you. First, I don't know if you, I got last item to drink.
Energy drinks?
Yes, sir.
You read my mind. You knew I needed some energy.
Here's some monsters for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, just stopping by to give the June
Ow.
wholesale magazine. So
Okay.
anything you guys need, I already have the June, so just be a little bit
Okay.
late for you.
And just to let you know, we're open Saturday and
Perfect. Okay.
So if you're in a pinch, we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome, man. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
no problem.
Thanks for the energy drink. I love the guys at Napa. They're great. It's just an impromptu stop by.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thanks.
your
All right.
time.
See you later.
Have a good day. Have a good weekend. It's Memorial Day coming up. They think we're working. Actually, some guys might be. I'm out. Okay, so this distributor's about to pop up. There's a lot of trash in there. I don't want to get down in the oil pan. So we're going to kind of brush all that stuff away. It feels like it's hard to get out. Okay, there we go. Okay. Ooh, hey. Don't get down there, please. All right, so the distributor's out. And then I've got this nifty priming tool. Check it out. It's basically a distributor that I took apart that we're going to reach down in there, and we are going to find the hole and drop it into place. Catch our oil drive, which I've caught now. We're going to hook a drill onto that thing. And these are reverse rotation. So I've got it set on reverse rotation. And I don't have a manual gauge set up to this thing, but I can go by feel. When it starts, let me take this out here. When it starts getting hard and it stresses the drill out, we know we're pumping oil. So that's what we're going to go on here. And tighten that up, get it on reverse rotation, get it in there. Hear that thing slow down? That's when we're pumping oil. Doesn't feel like it's putting too much pressure on there, but let's check the oil and see if we got oil. All right. Yeah, when stuff like that happens, like people stop by, just let it roll, man. It's good impromptu stuff. All right, you still rolling?
Yeah.
So we have oil. It smells like oil. Some guys will taste the oil. I'm not into that. But we have oil. If I had a key that worked. I think I'm satisfied. Oh, I'm definitely satisfied. If you get your trusty old light, you probably can't get it on the camera, but I'm looking through the distributor hole and I'm seeing oil pump down into the lifter valley. So I'm seeing it drip down in there. That's a good sign. So I'm going to do this for a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, and then we'll pop the distributor back in, knowing that my valve train's now lubricated and good to go. And then I'm going to feel free to crank this thing over more, and we'll put a little fuel in here and see if we can get this thing banging. All right, so now that we've got sufficient oilage, I'm going to go ahead and put this thing back in. Now the vacuum advance was kind of facing towards me, and cylinder 1 was facing towards that bolt on the carburetor, that front right bolt. So we're going to see if we can shimmy this thing back into place. It was a little hard to get out, so it's probably some grime and gum in there. There we go. I think we want it to go. It should fall into place. That should be about right. Now I've changed the positioning of that oil drive a little bit, so I'm gonna have to take a couple stabs at this where I rotate that drive. By hand. The drive is in a hex pattern, and the cam gears and that hex pattern need to be in the same location to marry up, and sometimes they're not. So we'll just go ahead and rotate that a little bit more. You can feel the resistance on that oil pump. I like that. Okay. We'll change it a little bit and see if that's a good position for it. Clean things up as I go along. Okay. Still not wanting to do it. That's okay. The other trick is you just rotate the motor a little bit, rock it back and forth with your little clickety-click. Now that's going to get it off top dead center, but I think we're in the right area, and then we can go back and confirm what's up, you know. So we'll do a little clickety-click, drop that distributor back in. Come on. There we go. Okay, so see how it dropped in there like that? We're gonna get back around to top dead center to confirm our positioning, which I'm a little bit past top dead center. Let's see. Let's compare with my picture and see where we're at here. That's why I take the picture, because my memory is not that great. So we are probably within reason. I think actually we're right at the spot that we were at. I like it. Okay, let's button this distributor back up. We're gonna get our trusty fuel cell in here. We're gonna bypass the entire fuel system. We don't know what's in these fuel tanks. It smells like turpentine, so we're not even gonna bother with that. We went ahead and took the fuel hose off of the carburetor, and then I've got a little self-contained system here we're gonna set up, and we're gonna get that on there and try and fire this thing up. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay. New points are in, or new rotors in, sorry, not new points. We're gonna clip this distributor back on, and a few more safety items to go through before we try and start this thing. I've left the distributor a little bit loose so I can time it on the fly if we do get it running. I'm gonna hotwire this thing. I don't have an ignition key for it right now, so we're gonna hotwire it. If I do get it running, we're gonna go ahead and just switch out the ignition so we can start it from inside the cab. And then we're also gonna probably put some brake fluid in the master cylinder to see if we can get any pressure on the brakes, and then we'll drive it around the yard and do some burnouts. I don't know. But for now, we need to go over the safety items. So you need to make sure if you're doing this that your carburetor is moving free and not leaking and things like this. So let's go ahead and remove the air cleaner and see what this carburetor feels like. A lot of times these things are just gummed up with old fuel or rust or whatever the case may be, and you don't want to try and put fuel in that carburetor. So let's see here. I mean, the fact that everything moves freely is a really good sign. 9 times out of 10, your accelerator pump gasket's going to be leaking on you, and then maybe your bowl gasket. This is the factory carburetor. They're super simplistic. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong here. In my experience, if things are moving freely, you'll be able to get fuel through it and at least fire it. Always have a fire extinguisher nearby when you're playing with fuel. Don't ask me how I know. I mean, you could. I'll tell you a story. I caught a truck on fire in the middle of winter, and everything was frozen. Hoses. I couldn't find my freaking fire extinguisher. It was not fun. So safety third, boys and girls. Fire extinguisher always. Carburetor, I'm okay putting some fuel in that and seeing if it actually pumps. Fuel is responding to what we're doing. And the other thing too is we want to put some coolant in this thing. We don't know the history of it. Obviously, we want to put some coolant. Technically, you'd burp the system by undoing these hoses and getting water through everything. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't plan on running this thing through an entire heat cycle. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put it in here because it looks dry, and we're going to see we're going to see if it actually holds water. So where did you put the stuff, trusty cameraman? Here we go. We're gonna start by just doing a little bit of water. I do distilled water in everything. I don't do hose water. Hose water has got a bunch of minerals in it that are corrosive to the inside of your engine, so I do distilled water. So let's put some water in here and see if we're not leaking everywhere at some point. The other really positive thing I failed to mention is the fact that we hooked the battery up and the truck didn't catch on fire due to electrical fire. That's pretty good. And we did notice one of the dome lights inside is working. Okay, water's at the top of the radiator, which is really nice. I'll put a little bit of coolant in there, antifreeze, because after we start and drive this thing, who knows when the next time I'm going to get to it. And it gets cold here in the wintertime, so I don't want to break a block if this is a good block. So we'll take precaution and give it some protection. I don't like filling these all the way up because when the systems open up for the first time, usually they'll boil over a little bit, and so you just create a giant mess for yourself. So I'll leave a couple inches at the bottom here or at the top here, and that way it's got room to do that. For initial start, we're going to leave that off. I want to be able to see it build heat and start rotating water is what I want to do. And so the next thing we need to do is hook up our fuel. I do want to check, this has a automatic transmission in it. I want to check if there's fluid in the transmission. If the transmission is that all good and we are going to drive around the yard, we need to make sure that there's fluid in it, but also you don't want to start it when it's dry. So let's check that out. Look at that. Good fluid dripping all over the exhaust manifolds. That's great. It'll smell great when we fire it up. Okay, let's walk over here and we'll get our trusty, this is our trusty system right here. We're gonna go ahead and get some fuel in this baby. Now remember, we bypassed the whole system, the whole factory fuel system, because it no doubt is just gummed up with stuff. And I like this little system here because I can prime it. It's got a primer on there. And also, I can control how much fuel is going in the carburetor, so that's good. All right, and we put our flathead. It's always nice to have the right tools laying around, you know? So let's put some fuel in the carburetor just by priming this thing. I don't have to have this laying down, probably. Maybe so. Make sure our bowls, our floats aren't stuck. So we're getting pressure in that carburetor. What that means is my float went up and it's stopping fuel from going in the carburetor, which is a really good sign. See if our accelerator pump is gonna spit some fuel out. Look down in the throat of it. It's actually spitting fuel out, which is really great. And like I said earlier, that accelerator pump gasket's gonna leak. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that before we fire this thing up. Last thing I need is a bunch of leaky fuel. So what happens on these carburetors mostly is the accelerator pump circuit just gets blocked. And that's exactly the case here. So the gasket on this thing is leaking for sure, but also it's all blocked up. So I'll probably end up having to take the top off this carburetor and just cleaning it out real quick, which is par for the course. Get my trusty towel here to put my parts. Actually, I'll use the Ford built-in tool bench over here. It's really nice of Ford to know you're going to be working on stuff a lot and just put a tool bench right on the other side of the battery tray. There's ingenuity at its finest right there. It's always nice too to have all the parts you need sitting on the shelf. Thanks to our boys and girls at Napa who bring us energy drinks. Thank you. Where did I put my socket? Right there, underneath my towel. It's always in the last place you look, you know? Always. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little towel. Last thing we need is fuel everywhere too. Yeah, these 2 barrels, man, they're actually really good carbs. Kind of gutless, but my favorite carb is the 4412, Holley 4412 you put on here, and it just wakes these things right up. But that's okay. Note when you're taking this apart what orientation everything goes in. The spring goes a very certain direction, you know, goes the fat end out. Diaphragm doesn't look half bad, it's just stiff. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my brake clean and go through that, and I'm going to blow air through that to make sure everything's flowing the way it should. All right. So we've changed the accelerator pump, but still not getting fluid through to the accelerator squirt nozzles. So we're going to go ahead and just take off the top of the carburetor and take those out. And I got a carburetor cleaner, sonic cleaner. We'll throw that in there for a little bit, or we'll use some carb cleaner and some air to clean them out and start getting some fluid through there. Really difficult to get something started without your accelerator pump circuit, so it's nice to have that going. And the good thing is the sun's coming out, so we're gonna start sweating here in a minute. So that's always fun. Okay. I'm gonna move this. Move that over there. Here's your, right in here is your accelerator pump system. And we can pretty much remove the whole gasket. And if you're just doing a Craigslist rebuild here on your carburetor, you really don't even need to get a new gasket. I've got them here. Actually, surprisingly, the carburetor looks very clean. We're gonna go ahead and take this out. And this is going to expose my, make sure not to drop any small parts down in the engine, of course. And you've got little check valves and check balls and all sorts of stuff in here. So right in here, these things are going to be my my squirters, and they're not working properly. So we're going to go ahead and manually do this. You can see where fluid's coming from, and then we're going to get our air. We're going to blow all this stuff out and see if we can't make this thing squirt. Where did I put that air nozzle at? Ah. Might have to put this in our sonic machine here for a little bit. I'm going to fire up the sonic cleaner and throw this in. Okay, so this is our ultrasonic cleaner. It's got a carburetor solution in there to dissolve all the ethanol and all that crap in there. So it's actually heated. So we're going to kick this temperature up a little bit. We're going to go to 120, go to 130. Actually, it maxed out. And there you go, 130. We'll do that, and we're going to go 10 minutes. Now, it's going to take some time to heat up, but just lift up our little tray here, dump our part in there. Now you can see how dirty this thing is. Let's see how clean it gets with 10 minutes of ultrasonic cleaning. And here we go. Cleaning. Okay. All right, this thing's been in here about 10 or 15 minutes. The water's heated up a little bit, up to 105, which is good enough for what we want. So, if you can tell, it's come out pretty clean. Now, if we leave it in here longer, if we were doing an actual rebuild on a carburetor, we would leave it in here a lot longer. But I think this is good enough for government work, as they say. So we'll get a towel, dry it off, go blow some air through it, and we'll put it back on the carburetor, see if our accelerator pump circuit works. Let's go. All right, so I came out here, and if you could see right in there, those are your little squirter nozzles. Sprayed some carburetor cleaner down there and made sure each one was doing its squirting job, and they are. So we're gonna go ahead and reinstall this thing and make sure that our circuit is now working. Put on our little gasket guy. Get up in there. Put this back on. And put the lid back on, and you know what? With any luck, I think we're gonna have success today, my friend. Success. Oh, that's not going in for some reason. Why is that not going in? Ah, because that's all the way over to the side, eh? I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting excited to start this thing. The excitement is hardly containable. Now on these screws on these carburetors, you do not want to over tighten them. You want to make sure they're tight, but you over tighten them, you're going to start stripping stuff out. We don't want strippers here on my YouTube channel, mostly because it's kid friendly and I try to have it so where my boys can watch, and we don't need any of that. So please don't over tighten your stuff. It's just not, it does not make for good YouTube. All right, tighten these up. We do need the air cleaner rod in there, or air cleaner bolt in there to make this thing completely seal. It's part of the sealing mechanism, so we'll go and do that. I always go in kind of a rotating corners pattern and just kind of get everything a little snug. And then this thing goes in. Okay. No one wants to see a guy screw his stud for 30 seconds. Okay, so we should get fuel going down there now. Yeah, buddy. All right, so that's that. We're gonna try and give this thing a whirl, see if this thing starts. Safety items. We have fluid, we've got battery, we've got starter, we don't have fire extinguisher. We need to get fire extinguisher, safety first. Actually, there's one right in the, we're gonna get one. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, fire extinguisher, got it. We're gonna put it right there so we know exactly where it is. We've got everything. I didn't check fluid in the power steering pump because it's not necessary. We're gonna see if this thing fires. I think we're good. We got a battery charger on there just for battery. We'll get a little fuel in there. Let's see what happens. She wants to go. That makes me happy. Okay. Timing could be off. That's why I left the distributor loose. Okay. I'm not totally disappointed. She actually fires up and runs. Now, there's a major tick in the engine. I hear that. That's not exhaust. That's a lifter or a rod or something. But it's running. I think the timing's a little bit off. Let's give her another whirl. Make sure our fuel is in there. Yeah, baby! Woo! We're going. Okay, so our coil was bad. Cracked, actually. So let's go ahead and fire it up with a new used coil pulled off of a core engine. See if this thing fires up. I'm happy. This is enough for me to get started on putting a good ignition switch in there with a key. And then we're going to fill up the master cylinder with some fluid and see if we get any brakes, and we'll just drive it a little bit. It appears there's no thermostat in there because water's just pouring out of the system, which is fine. Not going to be bad or good for what we're trying to do. But yeah, let's get that ignition working and see if we can't get a little brakes going and put a little heat in this thing. All right, we're gonna go ahead and remove the ignition switch. We got a little ignition switch removal tool for those of you guys who like to pound it with the screwdriver. Just get the actual tool, man. It's like 20 bucks. That way you don't screw up your bezel. At least your chances of screwing up your bezel aren't great. It's got these little 3 prongs that go into the 3 prongs. Pro tool right there. All right, we're not even gonna install that yet. We're gonna just see if this thing will click over. and fire up so I can control the throttle from inside. I don't know. Wipers work! Yeah, buddy. All right, let's see if this thing will go into gear. We've got electric fuel pump in line, so we're bypassing all the factory stuff. And I think it's good enough to kind of just maybe drive around the yard. We don't have any brakes. There's a crack in the rear brake line. So I have very, very little, if no brakes. I don't know yet. And I don't even know if the transmission's gonna go into gear. But we've got the wheels chalked right now and about a foot in front of where the truck's sitting now. So ideally what's gonna happen is I'm gonna start the thing up and I'm gonna roll forward just a few feet and maybe get stopped at the chocks. And we'll go from there and see what happens. So that'll be a success for the day in my mind. Let's see what happens. Oh, well, that's in the way now. That's great. All right. Ah. Hey. Truck wants to move. Cool. I think that's a success. Let's go ahead and remove these chocks and see if we can roll around the yard just a little. She's driving, baby. Now, this is what a lot of people call running and driving. I have like no brakes though. Yeah, buddy. Hey, that wraps it up for this Will It Run. This 1971 F350 Crew Cab that we just took delivery of a couple days ago runs. That's awesome. So if you like this stuff, you want to see more of it, subscribe to our channel, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.